This video is now in session, and the Georgia Senate runoffs are almost less than a day from actually happen. Actually, it's pretty much less than a day until the runoffs are going to happen and the polls will be closed. So why is this race important for us to predict? And we will get to the prediction pretty quickly. That's because of who gets leverage in Washington. Right now, Democrats are projected to win at least 50 seats and the Republicans at least 49. So the end of the 2022 election could either see the Democrats flip a seat in the elections and get a 51 split, or the Republicans flip this seat and they would get a 50-50 Senate control, similar to how it has been since 2020. What that means is that if it's 50-50, then both Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, the conservative Democrats that have typically voted against or at least threatened a lot of Democratic bills, they will continue to have full advantage between now and 2024. But if Raphael Warnock, the incumbent senator, holds on to the seat, then what that means is that either Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema becomes like salespeople. Joe Manchin might be relegated into more of a lesser status, considering his re-election campaign in 2024 as a Democrat in a very Republican state. Or, I don't know, it could mean that Kirsten Sinema becomes the next Joe Manchin. In the end, we've made a video about this a few weeks ago if you want to watch that. But what that means with this seat is pretty much those two senators, and that translates to the types of judges that are passed through the Senate, the types of legislation that goes through the Senate, and then probably will get blocked by the Republican House majority. But there's also other cabinet appointments that might be useful with an extra Democratic vote. So with that, we're going to now go to our prediction, and we think that between Raphael Warnock, the incumbent Democrat, and Herschel Walker, the Republican challenger, in the end, Raphael Warnock is expected to win by lean margins. Now, why do we think this? And why should you trust us? After all, in the 2022 predictions, we thought that the Republicans were going to take over the Senate by a 51-seat majority and that the Republicans would get the House by 230 seats. In the end, we've adjusted a little bit more of our methodology, and we're now looking at more than just the polls, even though the polls do say that Raphael Warnock is up. If you look at these polls, almost every single poll has Raphael Warnock up. Even a Republican pollster has him up by 3 percentage points. Patriot Poland, 2 percentage points. Emerson, 2 percentage points. Survey USA, 3 percentage points. And in Georgia, generally, polls are more reliable, if in fact skewing a little bit too much to the Republican side. Here you can see Herschel Walker was expected to go into the runoff with a 1.2 percentage lead, even though in the end it was I believe, less than a percentage point lead for Raphael Warnock. And that is also reflected in the 2020 Senate runoffs in both this election, or this Senate seat, which was a special election, and then Jon Ossoff's Senate seat against David Perdue, who was at that time the incumbent senator. So we have that going for the Democratic Party. The other thing is, if we look at the types of people who are going to vote in Georgia, it's mainly going to be from here in this core region of Atlanta, as well as the suburbs. The main reason why we don't think that Herschel Walker is going to be able to win is simply just because he can't excite enough voters to actually vote for him. This race is going to be primarily about turnout, and if we're talking about turnout in Georgia in a runoff election, it used to be very favored for the Republican Party, but considering that a lot of college-educated voters have shifted towards the Democratic Party, and that Atlanta is full of people who are college-educated individuals, then it is more likely at this point that the Democrats, in an even environment, or even in this environment, would have the leg up. So, and if you look at news stories, then you'll see that a lot of the times Herschel Walker is embroiled in scandals and blunders, gaffes after gaffe, and then Raphael Warnock has generally done a good job laying under wraps and just speaking to the voters of Georgia. So that's our characterization there. take it with a grain of salt, considering that we did make some slips in the 2020 predictions, but our basis is on the polls, but also on local stories and just plain logic and a logical analysis. So that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. This video is now adjourned, and I'll see you in the next one.